Welcome to another edition of the Sales and Marketing Power Hour with your host, Carol Morgan with Denim Marketing and Kimberly Mackey with New Home Solutions Consulting.
Yes, we do. So welcome, everybody. We are glad you are here. I am going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get started, get you back to your day. I know everybody's busy. I just got back from um, the wonderful world of our nation's capital last evening and only had to abort landing 2 times to keep from being hit by a helicopter. So that's good. I thank the pilot profusely for getting us there
Scary,
safely.
scary stuff.
Oh, geez. I'm not a nervous flyer, but I was a little stressed about that. All right. So today we're going to be talking about blogging and vlogging, which I think are two of the most underrated things in our industry. So I'm super excited that we were asked to come up with this title. And Carol brought up and in the age of AI, which I think is so important because people want to think that they can just ask ChatGPT to do everything for them. And spoiler alert, nope, you can use it. It's a great tool. So we got some good suggestions for you. As is usual, I got us a quote this morning that I hope is apropos. The currency of blogging is authenticity and trust. Would you guys agree with that one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, you're allowed to talk, so we can actually see you. So
Definitely.
that's what we're going to be talking about. And Carol, I'm going to let you kick it off here.
I'm going to kick it off with the cool kids. As always, if you have not yet joined our Facebook group, then go to facebook.com/groups, Sales and Marketing Power Hour, and please join and please participate. We don't want you just hanging out and never saying anything. Feel free to start a new conversation, share something cool going on in your company, ask a question. Would love to have you there.
Create a poll. Our polls tend to be
The
very
polls do
popular.
really
So we
well.
had a poll last week where people were talking about sales and traffic. So if
Yeah.
you want to know what's going on with everybody else's sales and traffic, just start a poll. Anybody can chime in. All right, Carol.
I'm going to kick it off. Well, I'm Carol Morgan, president of Denim Marketing, and we are all things quality content. So today, because we're blogging, we're going to talk a little bit about how each of us got introduced to blogging in our introduction. So I've been blogging since 2006. I think people thought I was crazy. My original blog is AtlantaRealEstateForum.com, which is still on online and is probably Atlanta's biggest home builder focused news blog. I think we put out more news in the real estate space each day than pretty much anyone else in the Atlanta market. So that's kind of how I learned about blogging and learned about SEO and keywords and been in this space for a long time. I guess it's kind of crazy. It's almost 20 years that I've been blogging. I guess it'll be 20 years next year, so I should have a big party. But looking forward to this conversation. We've got some really fun guests today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Mackey.
All righty. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kimberly Mackey. My company is New Home Solutions Consulting, and I'm based out of Tampa, Florida, but rarely here. I work with builders and developers all over the country who are trying to grow their sales. And of course, just more sales does not solve everything. So we need to have predictable, profitable sales. And that is what I help companies do. And I learned about blogging from probably Carol. So, as social media and blogging have been a great equalizer. So there were people who were way ahead of me, and especially in the sales and marketing training space, and so I was able to quickly and rapidly catch up because of doing social media and feeding that social media with really strong blogs and getting that doing that content marketing so that people knew that that I knew what I was talking about. It gave me a lot of street cred to put that information out there. And I had, as I said pre-show, I think probably about 50% of my clients came from, and originally they probably all did, but came from social media or blogging, or, they may have heard me speak, but they knew about me because of social media. And then the rest of them come from referrals from clients. So, it's a powerful, powerful tool. So again, and I think it's one of the most underutilized in the home building industry. Jaime, let's kick it over to you. Tell us all about yourself and your adventures in blogging.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jaime Godwin. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications for Kolter Homes. And truthfully, for most of my marketing tenure, email marketing has been my first love. But with Kolter Homes, I've significantly expanded my role. And now I oversee our online sales consultants, and then also drive engagement through email marketing, social media, and recently the launch of the Kolter Homes blog. So this is new for me this year. I'm managing a blog, and I'm excited to be here today and also excited about our blog.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking time. It's always great when we hear from our builders directly and how this is impacting their world. So, and then Kaitlyn, you are not Jason, correct?
No, I'm not. I'm filling in for him today. So hopefully I can fill his shoes.
I'm sure you're going to make him proud. So tell us a little bit about you and tell us about French Brothers and your blogging efforts.
So my name is Kaitlyn. I've been with French Brothers for almost 6 years now. I actually started as like an OSC sales assistant. So I feel like I've moved up. I'm now the marketing manager. And it was kind of nice being OSC because I got to see how people think, customers think, and that really helped shape like my marketing perspective. So for French Brothers though, for blogging, they've been doing it since they've had a website. So I'm thankful in that aspect. I didn't have to build anything up. It's already been there. We had the SEO there, but I feel like in the past year, we've changed how we've done a little bit. And I hope to speak about that here in just a minute.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm going to stop the share so we can go back to our Brady Bunch view. And Carol, you want to kick us off here?
Yeah. So let's just start and chat a little bit about why blogging does still matter for SEO and thought leadership. Jaime, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel if myself 10 years ago would be thinking I'm a total hypocrite right now, because I was in one of the camps of is blogging a waste of time? Because 10 years ago, I saw companies start a blog with enthusiasm, and then they sort of became these digital, graveyards because they didn't see an immediate return, and they got discouraged. But now, because SEO has been massively changed by AI, the relevance of blogging is there. I mean, it's almost ushered in a renaissance for blogging, and it's more important now than it's ever been. So I'm now part of the very enthusiastic camp of blogging, which we started this year. And it's important for thought leadership as well, because it helps you voice your brand in a story, and tell perspectives beyond just keyword matching, and helps people who are like your customers find you because you're giving your customers a voice through the blog. And from a brand that does a lot of marketing to 55 plus active adult home shoppers, it's important for them to see how other people are living, and not just for us to try to present ourselves as we want to sell you a home. So blogging has really given us the ability to tell that story from our customer's perspective.
I love that. I really have never heard that phrased exactly that way, but I think it's spot on. And, when you're talking about AI and how AI has changed the game, I don't think that most people really realize how important it is to be the answer to the question that AI is asking, and how you can only be the answer if that content's on your site, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, AI is scrolling and changing the way our websites are found. It's, Anya Chrysanthemum for the Nugo talks about this all the time, and I always learn from her. So shouts out to her right now. But, that learning how AI is, and it's just in its infancy.
Right.
Like this is going to get more and more. So if you're just relying on old-fashioned SEO right now, like no. And I've got builders that they're like, and we talk about even just search engine marketing, just some basic stuff, and that, and then they're like, no, we're not doing any of that. We just, we have our website optimized. The web builder did. I'm like, but it's not going to be found because the searches are being done more and more. I mean, how often, ladies, do you go to ChatGPT to ask a question a day?
I like to go to chat and Google and see what the answers are because they're always they might be the same or they might be different.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Yeah, Kaitlyn.
But yeah, I agree.
I've noted.
Go ahead. Sorry, Jaime.
No, go ahead. I want to hear
No,
from your perspective, especially as a former OSC. That's a unique perspective as well.
Yeah, I feel like, well, just kind of our marketing strategy for our blog has changed of just having to think ahead of what future people might think. So like last year, we're like, let's start putting out 2025 design trends. So we're trying to think ahead of like, okay, when people search in January of 2025, we were already doing it at the end of 2024. So we're coming up first instead of people doing it who are posting it in January. So I mean, it's just different from AI. And I feel like having that OSC background, I kind of feel like I know what people might ask for. Like, of course, Christmas is coming up. People are going to ask like Christmas decorations. So you're like, oh, I can plan ahead and post this and and be ahead of everyone else.
You
I
mean
love
we should
that
plan
future casting.
Would you call it future casting? I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're thinking ahead. I don't understand the concept. This is great.
Yeah. Well,
I think that
all right,
as
somebody
an
go
OSC,
ahead.
I think OSCs are so underutilized in terms of harnessing ideas because they talk to probably more people than anybody else in your company. And so they really have their fingers on the pulse of your customer. So if customers are asking them the questions, they're probably also Googling the questions. So harnessing those ideas from the OSCs, and Kaitlyn, you have such an advantage as a former OSC because you know how to listen to your customers.
Yeah, I really think OSC has helped me. When I first started that role, I was like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. But honestly, I've learned to love it. And then just marketing is just really just taken off from OSC. So,
Well, it's because you're customer focused on it. And, sometimes I think we get a little myopic in our blog topics where we only think about, I see a lot of builders posting about this floor plan and that floor plan, and we're opening this new community and this new community, which is all great. You should do all of those things. But cast a wider net too. So, I mean, sometimes if you're in an area where people are relocating there, which there's almost always somebody relocating there, think about that. Think about catching those people before they ever start their home search, when maybe they're just trying to learn about the area. And we all have something cool about where we live. I mean, I live in Tampa, Florida. There's so many cool things about Tampa, Florida. So if I'm a builder in Tampa, Florida, I'm going to post about, all the millions of things that are unique to Tampa that you can do. And I mean, that's a blog post a week, right? At least to come up with something. There's always something happening.
Well, I agree. I feel like using that to your advantage is to get leads. And then I feel like that's where AI can kind of help. Like I sometimes use ChatGPT, just be like, oh, write me this little like short thing about Las Cruces, one of our cities here, just because it's just easier than me typing it out, and ChatGPT will say it nicely. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jaime.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of going back to like things to do in the area, making blog content, positive blog content. Rather than us making the recommendations, we at Kolter Homes ask our Crestwind residents, where do you like to have barbecue or, listen to live music? And then when we're making recommendations through our blog, or also our OSCs, our sales team, we're not saying, hey, we think you should go to this barbecue place. We're saying people who live here like to, eat here. So it makes the blog content more relatable because it's coming from customers versus, just us telling them to,
Right.
you know, we like this place, so you should like this place. So it adds a little more authenticity to it because it's customer based and focused.
Do you
Yeah, I
allow
love that.
commenting on your blog or no?
No,
So you're
no, I'm
doing that
afraid.
behind
I'm
the
afraid.
scenes?
What's the feedback there? I'm afraid of that.
Yeah. Well, that's what social media is for. So if you're
Yeah.
posting it on social media, you're probably getting some of it. So
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and you can turn comments on, but have them filtered, so you only approve the ones you want to show, which is what we do on Atlanta Real Estate Forum. Because our policy, and it's clearly stated on our blog, is that we're not going to let you bash builders or bash the industry, and that we're
Good policy.
yeah. So I mean, it's how I make my living. I don't want to have everybody making all the home builders mad, but.
Sure.
Kaitlyn, I think you really touched on this, and French Brothers is really thinking farther ahead than a lot of builders are, about how AI is really changing content. So, you think about it, when you ask that question and you ask it in AI or you ask it in Google, if you haven't been indexed for the answer, you're not going to show up in that result. So that, I guess is, kind of what you all were thinking behind the scenes when you started talking about 2025 topics in 2024. Because if you can get those topics indexed in fourth quarter, then when people start asking those questions in first quarter, you're winning. I used to always say he, she with the most keywords wins. But it's, think of keywords or think of topics. It's still that same thought process is, what are they going to be asking and how can I answer it? So you all want to talk a little bit more about how, AI is, kind of changing the way you blog or changing the way you write blogs or the way you think about blogs?
I definitely think it just changed me by thinking ahead. Like, because if you're not first, you're kind of last in Google. Like, people choose the first top links, So you just really want to be ahead. I feel like that's how we changed. We used to just be like, oh, it's January, let's talk about interest rates. But everyone's already been talking about that. So we're probably at the bottom now, So I think it's just differently how we changed in that perspective of just thinking ahead.
Yeah. For our approach, understanding our buyers' implications and needs, and that helps us identify the possible questions or roadblocks that they're going to be searching. So, the first step for us has just been understanding what our customers' needs are, and then creating content around that, using AI tools that are integrated into our SEO systems has also been helpful for us because we're familiar with what our buyer profiles are. We're able to identify some of the search intent of our users to compete for some of the long tail keywords. So our blog has supported our SEO efforts as well to start showing up in those long tail keyword searches. Because
all right, you probably just went into a marketing term that maybe not everybody understands. So let's slow down and define that one a little bit for people.
Such a nerd. I'm a nerd. I'm sorry.
I love it.
I was going to say that made perfect sense, Kimberly.
I know it did. I know what she's saying, but for those who are new to this, let's start at the beginning. Go ahead, Jaime.
So you want your customers to find you. So you just want to predict what they're going to be asking. And there are tools that can help you predict those things, AI tools integrated into your marketing softwares. And but part of that is knowing who your buyer is and then understanding what their problems are, predicting what they're going to search for, and then creating content around that.
Yeah.
Is there any software you recommend to use, Jaime?
Great question.
SEMrush, whatever SEO tools you're using will, likely have some type of recommendation for keywords that your audience would connect with.
Yeah. You can also kind of reverse engineer. One thing that we do every month is look at what are the top 10 blog posts, this month. Not necessarily the top 10 that were written this month, because none of us are blogging 10 times, but what's actually driving traffic to the site this month. And, if you've got something that ranks really highly, then you'll know. So let's just say it's a July 4th roundup of events around town that ranks every single year. Well, capitalize on that and rewrite that post and republish it with a new date. I call that repurposing, versus writing a whole new July 4th post, because that way you're keeping that Google juice, you're keeping that ranking that you already have, and then just continuing to push that blog up higher. So you can use your own website, even, especially in combination with SEMrush or some of those other tools, Screaming Frog. I don't even know what else is still out there, but there's a whole lot of them to figure out, not only what are people searching for, but, what's resonating and what can I reuse versus having to write something all over again.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a crazy thought, but you can also train your salespeople when your buyers are coming in to dig deeper to find out, instead of them just saying, "Oh yeah, I saw your sign." Sure. Yeah, that was the last thing you saw. But we got to go further than that. And one of the things is, if you really are diving in there and building that relationship with them, they're much more likely to say, I read on your website, da 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 da. There's a whole opening there. Don't just gloss over that. There's a whole opening there to really, first of all, build a relationship with people. Something resonated with them. Let's connect on that. But also learn more and figure out why that resonated with them and how that may have encouraged them to take the next step. And sometimes they skip a few steps. Sometimes they don't fill out the form on the website and they just show up. Or sometimes they fill out the form and they ignore us for 3 months and then they show up. I mean, not everybody's path is linear, and there's a lot to be learned from that, but only if we train our teams to utilize it properly so that we can do a better job on the front end.
And then your sales team can kind of have this full circle moment with the content that you create, because they can later share it with other customers to create a personalized follow-up opportunity. So getting their ideas and getting information about their customers, creating content around that then they can, further use to build relationships with other customers is, really kind of the dream for it, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that Jaime, you and Kaitlyn both have touched on something that I'm just gonna, circle back on. But sales and marketing should work together. Hello, right?
What?
So having the OSC in some of your marketing meetings, making sure the sales managers in the marketing meetings, working together instead of having two different silos, really helps to bring all this together and for us to provide a better product, a better customer journey for our buyers who are out there looking.
No, I agree. I feel like when I was OSC first starting out, I didn't realize French Brothers even had a blog, but I was getting like text messages about gardening. And I'm like, why am I talking about gardening? But it's because our blog was talking about like summer gardening. I actually got leads from that. And I'm like,
that's
okay,
fantastic.
it worked out, but I feel like it would have been nice to know that what was marketing at the time was posting about. So I wasn't like so confused, like, why are they asking me about plants? Like, I have no idea, but I mean, it does work. Like, customers do actually come in that way. So I feel like now I tell my OSC, like, this is the blog post, so you're not lost in case we get anybody.
Right.
I mean, communication across. Yeah, let everybody know. And I just had a conversation with one of my big clients in Atlanta, and I'm like, we can, if you'll give salespeople like some generalities of things and maybe give them a day of the week and let them pick, like they need to own that time. Like, you'd be amazed how much they can help support your efforts with. I don't expect them to write your blogs. Okay. That they're salespeople. Don't ask them to do that. That is not going to happen. But as far as topic ideas and giving you, something creative and photos and videos and, so many things that can add to the experience, the overall experience. They just need a mechanism and a reminder to know that, hey, we need your help. And salespeople tend to be very helpful people by nature. I mean, because it benefits them. They know they're going to get more traffic off of it. But we kind of silo these two activities, to your point, Kaitlyn, and kind of to our own detriment. And if somebody's reaching out to you about gardening and you're going, gardening? Like,
oops.
That's not great, right? That's not going to provide that customer experience that you're thriving, that you're striving to have to thrive.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes, Carol said the word silo, and that I think that this year launching the blog in our marketing team has kind of broken down some of those silos, because we have a lot more collaboration taking place, because our blog is overlapping benefits for multiple areas within marketing. So OSCs are giving us ideas. Then we're also collaborating with the digital team for guidance on optimizing SEO. So there's, this great coordination and teamwork taking place that the blog's really introduced, and it's been positive.
Yeah.
It works well for education too. So we do this all day, every day. So we forget that it's really cool when your trusses go flying through the air. Most people think that, you saw a crane with trusses flying through the air, like that's going to get some attention, and we can talk about why we manufacture our trusses offsite, if that applies to you. I know Texas and some of these other places are still the wild, wild west and stick build this stuff. But, if that's something that applies to you, don't overlook the construction process, because that's
Right.
the number one reason realtors don't come to us. And it's the number one reason that customers are afraid and would rather, 80% of the time go to a used home if it's available, because they're afraid of the process. And if we can demystify that, it just gives you, and I mean, you can break that down. I mean, literally, okay, nuts and bolts.
I'm writing
Like
this down
literally.
right now.
Well,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about, kind of the blog post itself. What makes it original, high quality, future proof? What are some of the things you look for in topics, or, maybe even some of your techniques?
Pick one. It's easier. Then they'll build rather than everybody speaking up.
Yep. Kaitlyn,
So,
you want to start?
So I feel like usually we are pretty on target with our blog posts. Sometimes we have some that like aren't as popular as others, of course, you know what I mean? But like I just think of it as myself as a person where like AI couldn't. Like I'm like, okay, what am I going to be thinking about 3 months from now? It's about to be August. Like, oh, my kids are going to like go back to school. So maybe that's what I'm thinking about, like back to school things, where that's where I'm trying to make it future proof and stand out from everyone else, where I feel like AI wouldn't know what somebody's going to think in 3 months. So that's where I feel like AI will never catch up of like, what are humans going to think? Because they're just so random. Like you look at TikTok trends and you're like, this is a trend. Okay. Like AI could never figure that that's going to be a trend, But so I think it's just like that, just having the real human touch to it of thinking what other humans are going to think.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you're literally thinking about what's going to happen next fall, right?
Yeah.
While we're all thinking, oh, look, it's May, it's graduation. Or,
Yeah.
oh, it's April, it's prom. So that's how far ahead Kaitlyn's thinking, y'all. She's 4 months ahead of us, really, in terms of what she's thinking. So we might need to all get on board, huh?
do you keep a company calendar, so you've kind of got this stuff going for every month of the year with prompts for yourself? Are you?
I do. So I have a calendar, like it's changed so much since the beginning of the year. Like it's crazy. Like I had all these events and things I wanted to do for like each quarter season. And now it's all been like derailed because in 1 month something changes, but I have it pretty much planned out, like back to school, holidays. Those are always like the big ones that will always be there. But like sometimes things change, festivals change, pop-ups happen. So it just, you got to go with the flow at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is.
And fill in, like just because you have a blog schedule of once a week, but something pops up. So instead of doing away with and replacing the one post, just double up. That
Right.
It's not going to hurt you.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And just because you're writing about, back to school now and putting it on your blog now doesn't mean you need to promote it anywhere yet. So you've written the post, it's on your blog, but you're not going to promote it in your newsletter or on social or anywhere. You're just going to let it sit there and marinate. Like you've got that, great steak or whatever it is, salmon that you're marinating overnight. Just think about your blog. You're going to marinate it for 3 months, and then you're going to start promoting it when the timing's right and people start thinking about it. but it'll already be indexed by Google and AI because it's been on your site long enough that they've been able to come there and crawl that and know the content. It's just a different way of thinking about it. You know, none of us even think that far in advance. Typically, when it comes to promotions, like we might know what we're doing each quarter, but we don't really start working on it till about a month before it, right? So,
Right.
you know, we might have this, you know, big sale in May that we just started working on now, but we certainly weren't working on it in January. So it's just a different mindset, you know, to think about how far in advance you've got to start thinking in order to really, I don't know, for lack of a better word, game the search engines and AI.
And it's a moving target.
Yeah.
And a lot of it too what's happening in your communities drives, the type of content that you're going to put on your blog. When there's events or, different questions or interviews from your homeowners, when you start getting these types of things from your team, then you can also, build content around that. But you can't always predict when you're going to get it. So you have to be pretty fluid with the content calendars. At least we do.
Right.
Are you working on any particular ratios from the video blogs or photo? Like are you trying to keep certain ratios, or do you just kind of just throw it all out there and just see how it does?
I wish we were that organized with the level of detail that we have, like, 60% video, 40% image, but we use what's compelling, what we think will be compelling, that helps paint the picture of how our customers live, answer the questions that they're asking, hopefully, to create authentic and genuine content for them. But there isn't a particular formula that we're using in terms of video creation versus, image. We do try to create, because we're, working with active adult buyers, a longer format video is popular. Whereas if it's a inventory home, that's a great short format video because it helps them, understand the space in a quick amount of time. But for our lifestyle videos, a longer format video is a little bit more engaging for our particular audience.
And by longer format, you mean how much?
Couple minutes.
I was going to say,
I just want to clarify that because I felt pretty sure you were talking still under 5 minutes. So,
oh yeah, for sure. Cool. I mean, we're not, filming War and Peace or anything.
Well, I have a follow-up question for you, but Kaitlyn, anything you want to add on, content or, kind of any ratios you all have of video versus photos? Or
I mean, I wish I was that organized too, but I'm not. But I feel like on YouTube, we do have longer videos for our older buyers because we feel like YouTube is where most people are. But we've also, French Brothers has been focusing on making budget-friendly homes for first-time home buyers. So like TikToks, like 15 seconds is all I got with these people. But we do get a lot of views. We get like thousands of views on these TikToks just because they're just funny little trendy TikToks. But it's what our first-time home buyers are looking at that help us get these customers into our door.
I love
and
that.
So those TikTok videos, you're also adding those onto your blog, or you're letting them live in that world, in that space only?
We're letting them live in social media only. Just right now, our blog is just photos and text, but maybe we will try something new and just see what happens. We got to start.
It might be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, to cross over and cross pollinate that. Now I don't know about doing it the TikTok version of it, but on social, the cross, like for the traditional, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Instagram, like those cross pollinate pretty well. So I don't know why it wouldn't for TikTok.
Yeah,
I love that idea.
Somebody should experiment with that. Let us know. I don't.
I vote Kaitlyn.
Yeah, Kaitlyn seems to have her hand on the pulse of this.
Yeah.
So there's a realtor, and I'm gonna call her out because she's just done phenomenal things, and she's even entered into the PR world, Carol, because she's getting on the on the local news, and she's really getting some traction with this.
Yeah.
So she's doing these whisper videos. Her name is Lisa Dubois Realtor, and you can find her on Instagram. And they're literally like she plays hide and seek in the home and to showcase the home.
Oh,
She's
wow.
Really?
whispering into her microphone. And I'm like, so don't copy that per se, but that just goes to show you that you don't have to do things so formulaic. Like,
Right.
sometimes be a bit
Mhm.
random. The random kind of helps with things.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if anybody's on from Smart Dwellings. Sometimes they're on too, but Beth has been running a series, a 10-part series with her kids going through, and they're demoing the home.
Yeah.
It is and they're at the height of their cutehood, man.
It's
Like they're in those, that space, that perfect space age wise to do this, and they're calling out things from a kid's perspective
right. I
in the
love
home.
that. Yeah.
That's cute.
And
Yeah.
like and I just applaud any efforts like this to do something different.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody wants to do, oh, well, we have the new Sanibel floor plan and it's a 4-bedroom. Nobody cares
Right.
about your bedrooms and your bathrooms. Can I just
Right.
say that? Nobody cares.
Well, they want to know that they have enough, but
Well,
yeah.
sure, but yes, we have many
Yeah.
opportunities with our interactive floor plans, what we can link to after we have creative content or, to get
Right.
their attention.
Well, I'll call out one. So Melissa Walcott, who works for me, is on the call today, and she blogs as a cat and a dog for one of our clients. So on ranchcottagesforrent.com, which is
Love
a
that.
build to rent community, we created Dogwood and Blossom. So Dogwood is a friendly Georgia bulldog, and Blossom came along a year later as his, friendly companion cat, and they literally talk about, well, the dog especially, dog parks that are nearby, things you can do with your dog, tour the homes from the dog's perspective. And all this kind of originated. We'd run a branding campaign for the client for about a year, but they build the same 3 to 5 floor plans, and all their communities are kind of, it's like the same houses, the same layout, the same amenities. And there's nothing wrong with that. But after a while, you just want to be able to say it differently, right? So we're like, well,
Yeah.
let's just give a different voice and a different perspective. So the cat can talk about laying in the sunny, warm spot because of all the windows. It's just got a lot of legs.
Cute.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
So,
A lot
You
of
set
legs,
that
yes.
up.
Yes, it does.
yeah. So,
I-
and you think about how many Americans have pets. I mean, more
Yeah.
Americans have pets than they do children right now. So, again, it resonates with them because they want to
Mhm.
know, is their pet welcome, especially in a rental community? Is their pet welcome? How many pets can they have? How small can they be? And, where are they going to live? How are they going to live? That's sometimes more important to them than anything else. I mean, y'all are probably seeing it, especially French brothers with entry level buyers. I think a lot of times people buy their first home for their dog because they want their dog to have a yard.
Mm.
Yeah, Melissa just
Mhm.
added, she's that to attract buyers who shop for their homes as well as a place for their pets. 100%, Melissa. And pets are people too. That's part of my
That's right.
training. So Carol and I have an overabundance of them, and if somebody were to show up in my model center with a pet, trust me, I'm going to talk to the pet before I'm going to talk to the people.
Mhm.
So, and there are a lot of people who build their homes. Once in the Phoenix area, I had a builder who put in 3 dog doors. Now, understand, Phoenix is in the desert. Literally everything that can creepy crawl into your home can kill you.
Oh,
Think about it. Think about the snakes.
Mm.
Think about the scorpions. Think about coyotes. Think 3 dog doors. So my first question was, how lazy are these dogs that they can't go out one dog door that you could perhaps contain
right.
better? And then I was like, and are you really sure about this? But like they built their whole home. That was their buying motive, was that they couldn't do that in their current home because the way it was built. So now they were going to have the opportunity to do that. They were going to be able to, because of the block walls in the back, which is again another way to try to keep those things out. It all tied together. People are motivated
Yeah,
around that, and who doesn't love a cute dog or cat?
that's right.
100%.
I
Well,
will stop every day on Facebook to look at cute dogs, cats, or horses,
yep.
Huh.
and pandas.
Oh, here's somebody says, bless you, my dog wants you to say hello to him so much. In 15 years in Arizona, nothing ever came in our dog door. Moved to North Carolina, no place in my new home to have a dog door.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, reach out to me. I'll tell you what came in mind when I put my house. Never once have
No,
I
we don't
had
want to talk
anything come
about
into
this.
my dog door until we put a for sale sign in the yard. So reach out to me. We can have that
A
conversation
little
offline.
scary.
That would be a whole squirrel conversation.
Well, we talked about length of video. Can we talk a little bit about length of blog post? What do you all shoot for? Jaime, you want to start? How many words?
Oh, wow. Again, that level of detail, I guess we don't have that level of detail at this point. But as long as it takes to tell the story, um, they're not short.
Right.
500 words plus, typically where I think we're at. But we write until it's done, the story's over. And that's kind of what we use to guide us as far as how big the content is.
Do you ever do series with them if they end up being a longer story?
Yeah, we're going to start incorporating that a little bit more. And by series, it would be, by community. So these are the things that people do around this community or that community. So these are, some of the things that we're working towards, because we did just start in January. But that's, a
Right.
series. I do love a series because it helps you with that, planning as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and like lists, like top 10 lists, like top 10 things to do around blah, blah, blah states. Like, it's
Yeah. What about
those
you,
things
Kate?
I think really help with content. And people love a good list, right? Especially a countdown list.
Yeah.
I do.
Kaitlyn, do you all have a length you strive for?
I don't feel like we have a length that we strive for. I feel like we kind of just want to get out there, but we do break it up. So I feel like we'll have the main points of like I don't know, if we put like why move here, it's like this, this, this. So it's like bullet points so people don't feel overwhelmed, and then we have a
Right.
shorter paragraph underneath. But I feel like social media has ruined people's extension, like their patience
attention
to
spans?
read anything.
Attention
So
span. Yes.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's all you got. You got like the 5 seconds for them to impress, and maybe they'll keep reading. So that's how we kind of started breaking everything up.
Yeah, that
I
5
like
to
that.
800 tends to be mostly what I see.
Yeah. I mean,
What about I was going to ask, what about the tonality or the voice of it? I have some builders who
yeah.
want to make it like an infomercial, and I'm like, really going to read that? Like, you
Yeah,
can't make it. Oh, look at us, we put in blah blah blah. But you could talk about why it's important to use, let's say, a zip system, or why it's important to have, dry basements, or, like, then you can talk about it from that way, but you can't just make it all about, we're the only builder in town who does da 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 da, right? Am I right? Or is that just a personal thing?
I think that kind of articulates the difference between your website and your blog, because your website is just like a list of facts about who you are and what you do, and then you can elaborate on those items in your blog. So yes, we have pickleball courts. It says that on our website, but what it doesn't say on our website, but does say on our blog, is that we have pickleball clubs, and here are, people enjoying those clubs. So that's how, the blog versus the website content, I think, is differentiated for us.
Yeah. Or even how to get started in a pickleball club, or,
Yeah.
pickleball for beginners. Cause
Yeah, do you blog in third person or first person? Is it, our, or is it, is it more marketing speak?
It's more marketing speak. Yeah. Or our residents, or our, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think, yeah, I
agree.
think that's where we are mostly still as an industry. But every now and then you find somebody who's really taken it on themselves, and they're blogging, as a person on behalf of the company. It's kind of interesting.
Or a dog.
Yeah, or a dog.
Or dogs. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and like, I don't think it has to be formal. Like, I think your blog can have a voice.
Right.
There are times when you do want, obviously a press release has to be, written a certain way, and some things have to be written a certain way. But when you can have a voice. Like, it can be, friendly or chatty, or, it doesn't always have to be like, a senior thesis kind of thing. It doesn't have to be so serious.
Right.
That's why I just think AI couldn't ever replace the human, that aspect. Like you just want it to feel real, have personality, I guess, where AI won't have a real personality yet.
But it will be thrilled and
Yeah.
curated and spectacular.
It
Trust
will
me.
be. Yes, it
Because
will be.
those are AI's 3 favorite words du jour. Thrilled shows up in pretty much anything AI writes. So, yeah.
Which and I don't know. Not being a marketing person, I live in sales land, but it does that affects your Google searches too for these things too. If you're really throwing only AI out there that is not in your authentic voice, aren't those still getting dinged in their the searches? Because
I
I know
believe
I try to be very careful with that to make sure it's while I will use AI to help me and to correct my grammar, I use Grammarly but I want it to still sound like me. Even where Carol and I will cross over because we're talking about this show, mine will be different than hers.
Right.
It still sort of says the same thing, but it still meets our voices, our different voices, because our websites sound very different.
Well, I mean, I heard now that Google is ranking people with original images over like stock images. So it's
As
better
they
that
should
you
be.
have, yeah, so if
Yes.
you have real images on your website that are original, like you start ranking higher over these stock images.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally
Well,
agree. And if you have alternate text, that's the other thing. If you're going to go out and you're going to put these images on there, the AIs are going to read the alternate text. So make sure your alternate text is correct because
Yeah.
there's a whole other opportunity for them to find you. And your video, same
Right.
with the videos, that you've got a really good description. Some people won't watch the video. Some people will, or if they do watch it, they will watch it with the volume off because they're in an office. I still
Right.
get probably about 50% or 60% even who open newsletters on desktop versus on phones.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So
we're finding
in
that
that
too.
case, I know there better be anything loud on there because if they're on a desktop, they're probably around other people, is my assumption.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got to have that closed captioning in there, the SRT files, and make sure that all of that is those captions are there, that they make sense, because if AI writes them, they don't always make sense. They make up words.
True. Google provides the framework with their EAT guidelines, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So this is the framework that Google is giving you for, the generative search experience. I think that copying and pasting what it also gives you doesn't really build trustworthiness or experience or expertise, because you're literally just plagiarizing them. So if you're creating authentic content that follows those guidelines, you just naturally wouldn't be copying and pasting everything from AI.
Yeah, I use it mostly to brainstorm or to help me organize my thoughts. And I have trained it to write like me, but it never quite gets it, right? I still
Right.
have to, but I can edit a whole lot faster than I can write sometimes. So, especially if I'm in a hurry, it's a really good foundation, but you can't just get lazy with it, I think. I think you still have to
Well,
stay on top of it and make sure it's in your voice. And like Carol said,
and
those
that it's,
buzzwords that come across that it uses over
yeah.
and over and over, dead giveaway. Like somebody, especially I recruit and I get resumes and I'm like, oh my gosh, AI so wrote this. Like, no way. Like, if you were
Yeah.
so lazy to send me something that I know was written by AI, it's not happening in my world.
I don't think I've seen any of those yet, but we haven't been hiring in a while. So that's a whole different, we could have a whole nother conversation about that.
We could. There's never a shortage of stuff to talk about. So,
Never
and
is.
all of you can always reach out to us if there's a particular topic that you want. So, rapid
Mm-hmm.
fire, ladies. Let's start with Jaime, and let's just kind of go back and forth a little bit. So, top, things, do's and don'ts for those people who are maybe just getting started with this. Jaime,
Okay,
you go.
well, yeah, the do would be to just start, because don't wait for the perfect post or topic, because as you get started, you're going to build momentum and refine along the
Mm-hmm.
way. So I think my first recommendation would be to just start it. just do it.
So it doesn't
It's
have
a
to be
good one.
perfect. We should just start.
Doesn't have to
No.
be perfect. Well,
No.
Love
and
it.
you can always go back in and edit it later. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be the finished product.
You mean it's
Mhm.
not static? What?
It's not static. No, it's like your website. It should be changing all the time.
I know. I'm really bad about that. I got to do better. Kaitlyn?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Jaime. That's just kind of how I feel like you just have to do it. I mean, even if you have a bad blog post, it's all right. Just keep moving on because you never know if 6 months it might be popular. So I just feel like you just have to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I would say promote your blog. Don't just
Yeah, oh,
put your blog
yeah.
out there. Like promote the heck out of that thing. You put some effort into it. Your company is investing in it.
Mhm.
Use it for your other stuff too. Carol,
I
what's
Mhm.
your
was
do?
I was going to say, well, I like what you just said. I mean, the blog is a great syndication machine. So, if you think of in terms of you've written this fabulous blog post on your Mother's Day sale or whatever it is, then use that in your social, use that in your newsletter, use that everywhere so that you're, using one piece of content multiple ways. Again, instead of creating multiple silos, you're making it all cohesive because your blog, you can feed that information out to those social sites and other places, and then when people click on that snippet, it's bringing them back in to your website, which is what you really want. So create that overarching connected strategy so that your blog is working both ways for you, both outbound and inbound. Golly, one tip. So I guess I would say, sit down and start with a plan. Write down everything going on in your company and then have other people chime in on frequently asked questions and, try to come up with a giant list of topics. And that way, when it's, time for you to write a blog, you're not sitting there going, oh my gosh, what am I going to write about? You already have a list you can go to and some place to start. What about you, Kimberly?
So I'd say time block for it because a lot of the builders that I work with, I just don't have time for it. And again, if you have the plan, like everybody is talking about here, and and you're thinking in advance, like Kaitlyn has so eloquently put it, then just time block that, hey, Monday mornings, or if Monday
Mhm.
mornings are not bad, then, Thursday afternoon when I get back from lunch, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crank out a blog post so it's fresh and ready to go before the weekend. Like, figure out your time. And it doesn't take that long to write 500 words or
Mm-mm.
plan ahead for shooting videos. You don't have to be the only one doing it either. Like, you can get your team involved, and your salespeople should be involved, and your construction superintendents, these people that are out in the field living this every day, your customers, like Jaime said, like think in terms of who can help support you so you don't have to be
Mm.
the person thinking of 52 different blog posts a year. So, yeah. Kaitlyn, what about you? What is another tip for you?
Um, I think just be proactive, like just think about the future, like how I've been saying, and then just get out there and see what you can do. I mean, be silly too with TikToks. Like I know when I first started making TikToks, I was like, I don't want to do this dance, but here I am now doing this dance, getting these
Mhm.
views. So you just have to do it and have fun with it.
I'm so getting back on TikTok just to watch her do her dance.
Well,
Yeah.
I get a lot of the builders to do it too. They dread it, but afterwards they're like, we had a lot of fun doing it. So I'm like, see, it
That's
wasn't bad.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
that's very cool. Yeah. So Jaime, what about you?
Um, Another tip I would have is to don't forget to collaborate with your digital marketing team to make sure you're optimizing the SEO juice in your blog. So it has to be a team effort and getting multiple perspectives and areas of expertise from the entire marketing team, from the OSCs to the digital marketing team to the content creating. Has to be a group effort. So don't ignore that part of it.
That's a very good point.
A great one.
Yeah. How about if we change gears now and so that let's leave some top don'ts. So,
Hmm.
because it's great to give people some do's, but there are definitely some don't rules out there too. Carol, you want to kick us off
I
with
was gonna
that?
say, I guess I've got a don't that's also a do. Don't think that again, don't think that you can't update a post. So let me just give you an example. So let's say that you are your builder company is nameofbuilder.com. So your blog is nameofbuilder.com/blog whatever you've called that blog post, right? So you're opening a new community and you're going to announce your VIP list and you're going to write that 500-word blog about your VIP list. So the title of your blog can be, new community coming soon, sign up for VIP list, but your URL should be buildername.com/blog/name of community city, or city name townhomes, or something that's evergreen. Because then in 2 months, when you have your grand opening, you've already started to have some SEO juice to that post, right? So now you're just going to add to it. So you're going to add grand opening is going to be your title of the post, and you're going to add a big paragraph at the top of it all about the grand opening. And then you're going to finesse that VIP list, if it still exists, to tell them still how to sign up for it and all the other facts and figures about your community. So you start to build this really, really deep content, and you stop competing with yourself. So I guess my don't compete with yourself for your own keywords. So if you have 15 blog posts and every time something changes about that community that have the name of the community in it, that now you're fighting for your own traffic. If you can kind of whittle that down and make it one massive blog post, then you will own that space online and get way more traffic. So a little complicated, but if anyone really wants to know how to do it, call me and I will talk you through it. That's my geeky side.
So, and on that note, I mean, so if you ladies, if you don't mind me jumping in on this one, because it's a big pet peeve of mine when, with whenever someone, I have assistants with my website, of course, and not renaming your URL for that particular blog post, as Carol was saying, like that, and then forgetting to write the description. If you forget to rewrite the description for that hits the top points, then you're less likely to be found for that. The other thing that is a don't forget to link to similar posts. You may also be interested in and list 3 different posts. Now you're cross-pollinating your posts and getting views on all of them. And if they're spending more time on your site, they're not spending more time on your competitor's site. So again, not a marketing guru, but that's
a good one.
That's my don't. Yeah.
That's
so Jaime, let's go to you. What's your don't?
I would say maybe it's also a do, just like Carol. So we're cheating, I guess. Don't be afraid to link to external businesses or sites.
Yes.
Because then, if you promote somebody that's in a space close to yours, they're going to share that blog post as well. And then it's going to build your, high quality backlinking that supports your SEO. So don't be afraid to promote others as well in your blog.
Well, not only linking to them in their website, but also keyword link to them. And
anchor text. Yeah.
Love that. Kaitlyn, what about your don't?
I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said, but I think for me, just don't give up, just keep going and keep your blog simple and authentic to your brand. I feel like don't overthink it.
It's a great point.
That seems like a really good point to end on today.
And I think that's really good marketing advice in general. Keep going, keep pedaling, use all the tools, but don't overthink it. So good stuff.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, ladies, wow. Thank you again for coming on and sharing your expertise and what you've gone through to do this. I'm sure people are going to have a lot of takeaways from this. And of course, if Carol, this is her world. If she can help you from a sales perspective, if I can help you, don't ever hesitate to reach out to either of us, even if it's just, hey, I have a question. I don't even know if it counts for anything. We're happy to help you. So, and again, thank you for taking your lunch hour or your breakfast hour if you're on the West Coast to join us today. We always appreciate you guys taking your time out live to join us. So thank you so much to our audience at home too.
Now go forth and blog.
Go blog. Go blog. And blog for sure. Creatively. All righty. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, Jaime.
Bye. Thank you.